Hey everyone, Sheila here from Lifewithpets. So today we're going to talk about growing fish. In particular goldfish, although I am going to show some examples of tropical fish and how much they have grown doing what we do. We got so many questions when we did the 1-year anniversary of our goldfish. I got a lot of messages asking how did we grow them and what did we do, because my fish aren't growing, my fish seem stunted, what am I doing wrong? And so I just thought I would put a video together showing what we did to grow our fish. So I'm going to start with just the examples and just show you some footage of the goldfish a year ago and the goldfish now, just in case you didn't see that video. I will leave a little link in the top iCard to it, so if you want to go take a look at the whole video, you'll be able to see it. I'm also going to show you some footage of our denison barbs, which are tropical fish, and just show the difference in the growth that we have had in those as well. So I would say the number one factor is water changes, so let's take a look at that. So I'm going to start with the 55-gallon, and obviously this is our goldfish tank. We do water changes on this every 5 days, and that is basically because right now it is overstocked with having the goldfish fry in it. So to keep the water parameters at the best and to keep the goldfish growing, we are doing every 5 days and about 60 to 80% each time. In a lot of the questions that I got about growing the goldfish and that people's fish weren't growing, the biggest factor is the water changes, because if you're not doing those water changes, then your parameters are not going to be very good. So you need to do a lot of big water changes, especially if you have a fry tank. Then you should be doing large water changes daily, and that will really make a big difference. Now when it comes to our tropical fish tanks, depending on the tank, I will do anything from 20 to 50%. It just depends which tank that I'm doing the water change in. And that's the thing with different tanks. Every tank is different. So a water change, general rule of thumb, people will say 20 to 30% once a week, but it really does depend on the tank and the stocking level. If your tank is understocked, you may get away with 20% once a week, and that's perfectly fine. However, if your tank is more heavily stocked, then you may have to do a 30, 40 or even 50% once a week, or you may choose to do maybe 25, 30% twice a week. So every tank is different, and a general rule of thumb is usually most people will say 20 to 25% once a week. So for those of you that haven't seen the growth in our goldfish, this is one of them that we got a little on a year ago, and this is him now. As you can see, a huge difference from when we got him, and I do attribute that to a lot of water changes, and that takes us on to the next thing, which is food. Okay, so this is just some of the foods that we feed to give them a varied diet. We feed the frozen food. This is just one example. In here I do have brine shrimp and bloodworms. They were frozen, they're going to be defrosting, and we'll be feeding those to the fish later. We have the bug bites for the pleco formula, and the shrimp actually love this as well. We have the bug bite tropical formula, and all the beta fish absolutely love that. In fact, all the fish love that. We then have New Life Spectrum community food, goldfish pellets, algae pellets, and then the gel food, which you actually make up. So this is just a small variety of what we feed. Now, to give a varied diet does not mean that you have to feed all these foods. Even if you're just feeding maybe a pellet and then some frozen food, that gives them a varied diet as well. So it's just not giving them the same food day in, day out. It's mixing it up for them, which gives the fish some variety, and it does help with their diet as well. I don't know about anybody else, but I absolutely love feeding my fish. I get so much enjoyment out of giving them different things each day and just seeing them enjoy it and thrive on it. And I do attribute that to a lot of the growth, especially if you take Bandit here. He came from Kasha at Creative Pet Keeping, and she fed them so many different foods that he just basically will eat anything we put in. She did a great job raising him, and he is not being a picky eater at all. Now on the other hand, when we got Daffy, she would not eat anything other than frozen food. She was a Thai import, and she was so picky until will, as many of you know, we found the bug bites, the tropical formula, and now she basically will eat anything that I put in, but it did take a different variety of food to do that. So fish do love a great deal of variety, and I do think that they do show favourites. I know for mine, bloodworm and brine shrimp, mysis shrimp are favourites by far, and I do think that they do also love those fluval bug bites as well. This tank is probably my favourite to feed because they all sort of come in a tight group together just as I'm about to feed, and then I just love the enthusiasm as they go after the food as well. So this tank definitely, I think, my favourite one of them all when it comes to feeding, because I just find it so interesting to watch them and to see them darting around after the food, and then you put all that food in and literally within a minute or two it's all completely gone and they're back begging again, which I just find crazy. The third factor in growth is tank size, and this does make a big difference to fish, especially goldfish. If you put a goldfish in a small tank, then that is going to be very difficult to keep the water parameters good for that fish, and also there is not a lot of room to grow. It is a myth that goldfish or any fish grow to the size of the tank, and so you need to give them the room to be able to grow and to get large. Now with the likes of the denison barbs here, this fish, it's a beautiful fish. I get asked about this fish all the time, and so many people don't realize they do need a large tank. These fish get to 5 to 6 inches in size. They do need to be kept in groups of 5 or more, and they need a lot of swimming room. They like to swim, they're fast swimmers, and so the minimum tank size for them is 55, but really 75 or more is even better. These fish, they're also known as denison barbs, redline torpedo barbs, and roseline shark. So they do have several different names. They are an absolutely gorgeous fish, but they do need the space. Now equally, take the likes of the harlequin rasboras. You know, people think because they're tiny they can go in a 10-gallon tank, when again they are a fish that enjoy swimming, they like a lot of room, and they do like to be in larger groups. So you can't really put a large group in a 10-gallon tank. So very often it's not just looking at the size of the fish, it's also looking at what are the requirements of that fish. Do they need to be in larger groups? Do they need to have a lot of swimming space because they enjoy swimming? So just because it's a small fish, it doesn't necessarily mean it's good for it to be in a small tank. So there are a lot of factors to think about when choosing fish, and especially when it comes to their growth and their overall health. For goldfish in particular, ideally the general recommended is 20 gallons for the first fish and then 10 gallons thereafter. So with them, ideally a starting tank for one goldfish is 20 gallons. Personally, I still think that is too small. When I look at my 20-gallon tank and the thought of putting one of these fish in it when they're so big, I just still think it's not enough. But that is the general recommended. I personally think 30 gallons and above for one goldfish, or even two goldfish for 30 gallons, and then 40 gallons is even more preferable. So they need a lot of space to be able to grow, to be able to swim, and that goes with any fish that is going to grow well, needs those three factors. So water changes, lots of them, really good water quality, food, give them a varied diet, and then obviously make sure that you think about tank size. So whenever you're thinking about any fish to buy, always think about the tank size and the requirements of that fish. So if there's a certain fish that you really want, then you need to do the research to pick out the right tank, right food, and what sort of maintenance that fish is going to need. Alright guys, I do hope that this video answered your questions. If you have any more questions that I didn't cover in the video, just leave them in the comments box below and I will do my best to get to them. We are planning on starting a video series probably next week. If it's not next week, then it will definitely be the week after. We have spent about 4 to 5 weeks working on this, and I'm really looking forward to getting the videos uploaded when it's completed. So hopefully that will be next week. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you're not subscribed to this channel and would like to see more videos like this, then please do so, and we will see you next time.